People assumed that Tim Allen's house in the Hollywood Hills was just another pricey celebrity listing when it was put on the market. Fans had a skewed impression of the home improvement star before concerning details like hidden rooms, unpublicized renovations, and financial red flags became apparent to real estate agents and potential buyers. As the mystery surrounding Tim Allen's estate deepened, one thing became abundantly clear. The contents weren't merely peculiar, they were downright terrifying. People took notice of Tim Allen's mansion in the Hollywood Hills because it was unlike any other famous home. Perched high above the city of Los Angeles stood an enigmatic castle. Views of the canyon and city skyline were available to visitors of the massive mansion, but behind the ostentatious facade was a disturbing reality. For years, people had been subtly speculating about Allen's wealth. A haven that merged rural allure with mid-century modern style, the public regarded it as an architectural masterpiece. The house featured floor-to-ceiling windows, sleek wooden walls, and a master suite that rivaled the opulence of the world's most luxurious hotels. Guests frequently commented on how silent it was and how it felt like something was being kept secret on purpose, despite the house's inviting appearance. Perhaps it was the enormous room sizes or the disjointed layout of the house that contributed to the disorientation. The fact that some places could only be entered by close friends and long-term employees could also have played a role. Even though she had cleaned nearly every inch of the house, one maid who had worked at the estate for over a decade claimed she had never been to certain areas. She informed me afterwards that it wasn't simply the locked doors, you also had the impression that you shouldn't have dared to inquire about what lay behind them. The real estate industry was similarly perplexed. In the Hollywood Hills, eccentric mansions are common, but Allen's had a history of untimely repairs, unexpected design changes, and muddled property records. There have been rumors that the land's former owners kept secrets, such as long-lost passages, chambers, and compartments. Until Allen decided to sell the house, the story didn't get any longer. Small issues became apparent as real estate agents and possible purchasers toured the house. On paper, some rooms appeared larger than they actually were, and others didn't appear to have any obvious entryways. An experienced contractor who was hired to do routine inspections left the property visibly shaken. When pressed for further details, all he could say was, "Something about that place just isn't right." A royal residence or a hiding spot, it appeared as though Tim Allen's mansion in the Hollywood Hills was the stuff of dreams for the majority of the population. There was enough space for large Hollywood parties, the layout was open, and the finishes were modern and luxurious. Beneath the elaborately placed decorations and lofty ceilings, though, something seemed off. Allen had a reputation for being an extremely private person who, in interviews, seldom discussed his private life. The degree of secrecy displayed by Allen exceeded the norm, even though it was par for the course for celebrities. Those closest to Allen couldn't help but notice that he had unusually stringent regulations regarding his house. The security measures were comparable to those of government buildings, and some areas of the house were off limits to the public. The use of biometric entry with multiple levels, reinforced walls in areas that did not appear to require them, and property-wide video surveillance weren't merely the usual security precautions for a famous person. They hinted at something more sinister. One intriguing aspect was the basement, or more accurately, the area beneath it. A little lower level for utilities and storage was shown in the house's official plans, but something didn't add up. Professionals who had previously worked on homes in Hollywood informed Allen's that his home's square footage did not correspond to its actual floor area. Those in the real estate industry were the first to notice anything was amiss. An agent representing one of the buyers requested a basement scan, a common practice for houses of this size, as part of their investigation into the property. However, the typical foundation plan was not visible in the scan. On the contrary, it revealed an unrecorded feature, a hollowed-out area beneath the house. When asked about it, Allen's reps clarified that the star was under no obligation to discuss the matter and that it was simply a private storage facility. However, the individuals who were more invested in the sale were not satisfied with that response. Was this merely a long-forgotten wing of the house, or was Allen trying to conceal something? The rumors circulated. Rumor has it that one prospective customer got visibly upset and abruptly exited the tour. Concerned parties simply stated, "I don't know what's in that house, but I don't want to find out." Adding to the gravity of the situation, several of Allen's closest associates claimed that he seldom discussed the estate. It was very unusual of Allen to keep quiet about his lavish mansion, unlike other celebrities. Unexpectedly, a former security guard who was hired to watch over the property at night may have raised the biggest red flag. Things deteriorated further as the sale progressed. Later in a statement, he admitted, "I don't know what was in there," but added, "But I can tell you this: Tim Allen never wanted anyone to find it." Someone had to find the truth, and when they did, it changed everything. The garage that served more than one purpose. There was a neat showroom full of vintage automobiles, muscle cars, and rare motorcycles in Tim Allen's garage, which gave the impression that he was a famous Hollywood actor and car nut. Allen frequently discussed his collection of vintage cars and hot rods in interviews, demonstrating his passion for maintaining and restoring his prized possessions. On the other hand, those who had a closer look at the garage sensed an unease. The fact that the space didn't correspond to the specifications listed in the deed was one factor. Close inspection revealed a few minor issues with the arrangement, but from a distance, it appeared to be a clean and well-stocked garage. One of the real estate agents involved in the transaction later remarked, "I've been in a lot of celebrity garages before this one. It had a different vibe." Some spots weren't specifically designated for storing cars and didn't even appear to be for cars at all. A mechanic's paradise, the garage pit allows them to work on cars from below, but this was the biggest warning sign. While most of these pits are rather shallow, Allen's was built with materials that would outlast the typical requirements for vehicle repair and was significantly deeper than was necessary. Contractors were brought in to inspect the home's foundation before sale, and they found the anomaly. Despite his demands, Allen's team abruptly halted any additional investigation. The employee subsequently commented, "This is scary. They had no reason to stop the inspection unless they didn't want us to see something." After that, there were the items that were either discovered in the garage or, more accurately, those that had gone missing. Although Allen was well known for his extensive automobile collection, several visitors noted that key pieces were absent. He no longer has the cars that he flaunted in public. Even though there was no evidence of a sale, some individuals believed it had occurred. The worst part was a corner stack of weathered boxes with no labels other than coded ones. A cautious real estate assistant peered into one open door and claimed to have seen antiquated VHS tapes, handwritten notes, and what appeared to be secret documents. Who or what was Allen hiding in his garage? And why did he take such extreme measures to prevent anyone from entering? Hidden from view, the monster chamber. While uncertainties existed in the garage, they were amplified in the panic room. The majority of well-known residences have security systems, and many even have safe rooms, secure areas set aside to protect the homeowners in the event of an emergency. However, Allen's escape room was unique in that he took extraordinary measures to conceal it. The real estate agents handling the sale were initially unaware of the room's existence. A builder noticed an empty space in the house's blueprint as he reviewed it. There was no obvious way to reach this room in the house, and it served no use either. A construction worker remarked, "It was strange. The measurements revealed an entire section of the house that did not exist according to the law." For their investigation, investigators consulted structural scans and historical building permits. To protect occupants from potential dangers, the majority of panic rooms are constructed. However, it appeared that Allen's escape room was designed for a totally different purpose. It wasn't merely for the purpose of keeping someone or something outside, it was also to contain them. Before finalizing the sale, the realty firm representing the prospective purchasers requested access to every room in the house. No one from Allen's management responded. A squad was dispatched to the residence not long afterward to conduct a private investigation. By the time they arrived, the entire room had been secured. The once secret chamber in the building was now occupied. There was no longer any indication of it. The walls had been reinforced and the potential entrance had been permanently sealed. An anxious real estate agent was someone who had seen the prior designs before they were altered. "I saw that." Everyone was curious about what had been in the secured panic room before the door was bolted shut. There was a gap there. Something was in that room, but now it's gone. Covert documents and an investigation were both completed. Following the eerie discoveries in the garage and the mysterious closure of the panic room, the attention turned to yet another peculiarity: a plain, old filing cabinet concealed in an unoccupied area of the house. It was just another random office chair at first, so it didn't seem like much. Unusually, the cabinet was locked when the group of prospective buyers began cataloging the estate's possessions. Rather, a fingerprint lock with high security was installed on it. Secret government documents or public financial records typically use this type of lock. The degree of curiosity transformed into genuine concern at that moment. For what reason would a Hollywood star require such stringent security measures for their possessions? The solution didn't seem to be meant to be located. A discreet inquiry regarding the cabinet prompted Allen's operatives to swiftly and unequivocally state that it was off limits. There would be no entry and no key provided. Requests to include it in the home's goods were flatly denied. Just that made people take notice. Word on the street began to circulate quickly thereafter. Those who worked there while Allen lived there whispered stories of ancient tapes, handwritten documents, and packages so tightly sealed they appeared unopened for years. It was said that Allen had meticulously documented his past, including everything he witnessed, the deals he struck, and perhaps even the types of secrets that the elite of Hollywood wished would remain hidden. The possibility that the files contained inappropriate studio business, internal company disputes, or personal letters was raised by some. They were considered to be significantly worse by some. Unnamed former estate workers claimed they had seen something in the locked cabinet years before it was ever locked, which led to the revelation of the scariest part. According to him, there were two drawers. One held files with names and dates written on them, and the other held small, unlabeled tapes. Unauthorized speakers' speeches were captured on these cassettes. What shocked him the most, though, was discovering a section at the base that had been concealed by piles of papers. By temporarily setting aside the chaos, he caught a glimpse of something unforgettable. Tim wasn't in the one photo that was found. Someone else was staring directly into the lens of the camera in that photograph. They appeared to be frozen in mid-action, and their faces were white as snow. One thing is clear: they weren't supposed to take that picture, even though I can't place the photographer. His reaction upon realizing what he had seen was swift. He bolted. The entire file box was relocated to a different room in the house not long after by Allen. No one could approach it again after that. After much deliberation, Allen decided to remove the cabinet from the house before any potential buyers could even step foot inside. But by that point, people had begun to ask questions. The video that went missing. There were whispers regarding Allen's secret files, and now there's more evidence that adds to the mystery. Longtime friend of Allen's recalled an unexplained disappearance of security camera footage from a strange incident that occurred years ago. A state-of-the-art security system monitored every entrance, corridor, and critical area of Allen's Hollywood Hills mansion. Such cameras served a security purpose in the past, capturing would-be assailants and robbers. But at some point, Allen had grown fixated on them. The footage wasn't something he occasionally glanced at, it was something he constantly monitored, even when he was alone in his office late at night. An old friend of Allen's noticed that he seemed unsteady while dropping by the house one night. He refused to tell his friend what was bothering him. His computer had been showing him video footage. On the contrary, he wasted no time turning off the laptop, locking the office door, and ending the call. The next day, Allen had his entire security system deleted so that his friend would always remember that moment. We deleted all footage, backup files, and recordings from the system. The security firm contracted to monitor the situation later admitted that the deletion was intentional. The data could not be recovered following the deliberate full system wipe. The video was permanently removed from the internet. Everyone who heard the story wanted to know why. Based on what he observed on his personal security cameras, Allen committed a serious transgression. Someone sneaking around his property late at night was first suspected by some as a stalker or trespasser. If that were true, though, he should have utilized the video as evidence. Some assumed it had something more intimate to do with the home. Is it possible he had a confidential meeting he wanted nobody to know about? Do you have any evidence that someone entered the locked escape room? Maybe something considerably worse? The mysteries of the panic room were exposed. Even as the investigation progressed and whispers regarding the estate's hidden truth circulated, the notorious panic room continued to captivate investigators. For years, rumors circulated regarding the locked room, but little was known about it. At first glance, it appeared to be no more than a fortified area designed to ward off potential attackers. However, its true purpose was far more complex. There was a much darker undercurrent to the motivation behind it. An unsettling tale was told by a former builder who had been hired to fix up the house years prior to its listing on the market. The renovations to the building were supposed to take place while he was working on the panic room. In the course of his exploration, he uncovered a secret passageway within the room's walls. His job was relatively easy since all he was supposed to do was check that the room was functioning properly initially. But as he got to work, he noticed some mysterious symbols etched into the walls. Symbols that were impossible to make out without looking closely. The contractor recalled that the markings were not intended for aesthetic purposes and were not a component of any existing design plan. They appeared to be predetermined, like a language or code. Despite his inability to decipher their meaning, Allen informed him that the symbols served only to make the room more secure when he inquired about them. But the employee had a sneaking suspicion that something was off, as if someone wanted to make sure no one would ever see the marks again. He was shocked to see that they had been erased the next day when he checked the area again. Speculation regarding the true function of the panic room continued to grow in the years that followed. Opinions varied as to whether it served as a sanctuary for Allen's priceless possessions or as a defense mechanism against more subtle forms of danger. One theory that spread rapidly as more details regarding the estate surfaced was that the room contained evidence of something sinister, such as documents, images, or audio recordings that could damage Allen's credibility and perhaps jeopardize his employment. During the estate's final sale check, detectives were granted permission to look in the room and discovered the final piece of information. Behind the false wall in the sealed area, which was initially believed to be vacant, was discovered a hidden chamber. Everyone who had viewed the house over the years had overlooked this room. Several manila boxes and sealed bags contained enigmatic notes. It is obvious that someone other than Allen composed some of them. The most disturbing discovery was a heavily redacted letter that was marked with the words "classified, do not distribute." When deciphered, the letter hinted at a botched business deal and could have ruined Allen's reputation in Hollywood. This panic room obviously served as a hiding place for more than just possessions. It contained the secrets that Tim Allen had been desperately trying to conceal. Who or what kept those secrets under such tight wraps remains a mystery. So far, anyway. Those who mysteriously vanished the disappearance that no one anticipated, along with the gradual disclosure of the estate's secrets, came another peculiar pattern: the disappearance of individuals closely associated with Tim Allen. Publicists, attorneys, and assistants to celebrities frequently left to pursue other opportunities, according to the articles. This was considerably more terrifying. Many people who had been close to Allen in the past, both friends and co-workers, had mysteriously disappeared. These individuals were not at random. Some of the most influential people in his life and career who had a hand in shaping his reputation and brand were present. But as soon as they departed, nobody saw them anywhere. Their whereabouts remained a mystery. The events described by Allen did not include any formal departures, press releases, or farewell messages. They ceased to exist. One of the most famous people there was personal assistant James Blackwell, who had worked with Allen for nearly 10 years. In order to maintain a positive reputation for Allen, Blackwell was responsible for arranging for prominent figures to give speeches and interviews. However, Blackwell resigned from his position following an enigmatic event and subsequently vanished without a trace. His disappearance from social media and direct communication left many bewildered. After the fact, an Allen teammate clarified that the circumstances surrounding Blackwell's departure were extraordinary. James wasn't just an assistant, he was a confidant. He knew everything about Tim's personal life and business dealings. The way he was pushed out of the picture so quietly and so abruptly, it didn't sit right with me, according to a source. In addition, there was Claire Reynolds. She was Allen's former PR assistant and collaborator on several of his most renowned projects. Reynolds was instrumental in shaping Allen's reputation, particularly during the height of his career in the 2000s. However, she disappeared from public view after an intimate altercation, and her whereabouts remained a mystery. When an anonymous former coworker reached out, the truth started to emerge. As far as anyone could tell, Reynolds was no longer working with Allen when she took a leave of absence to handle personal matters. She was under a lot of pressure, the coworker explained. She was doing things she didn't feel good about anymore. She quit with a heavy heart. She also disappeared from the news because they knew too much. Then a terrifying question arose. Was Allen trying to silence those who were too involved with something sinister to be let out because of his position of power? What caused these individuals to disappear? Were they somehow connected to the mysteries of the panic room? One thing became crystal clear. There was a hidden story to Tim Allen's life that had been kept hidden for years. Those who dared to speak their minds were silenced, sometimes in ways that made them difficult to locate. Regarding Tim Allen's wealth, that is an incredibly peculiar fact. Were you led to believe that something related to his estate might be happening? For what reasons? Fill out the form below and tell us what you think. Feel free to take a look. Well, that's all for now.